In 3, 2. That's what Landon does. I don't need to do that. I'm professional.
3. I was gonna say Landon's not here today, so
we can do whatever we want.
What's something that Landon likes talking about?
Final Fantasy.
Let's
review Final Fantasy and just shit all over it.
No, it's not gonna happen.
You know what's the worst game in the world? Any Final Fantasy.
It's the worst.
We do need to think of something to do while he's not here, and then edit it and put it up. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the SaveState, the channel about all the things you love in nerd culture. My name is Johnny Klein. I got Derk Owen here, and today we're going to be talking about League of Legends. Surprise, it's the biggest game in the history of gaming and esports and everything, and usually the way League of Legends, the way they put out updates is they kind of do them incrementally, like a little bit here, a little bit of tweak here and there. But they're not doing that this time. They're putting out quite a hefty update.
Yeah, so 5.1.6, I believe is the number. It's coming out, and it's changing the game quite a bit. And the biggest reason this is a big deal is because, like you said, usually they do small changes, small nerfs, small buffs here and there. But this one's revamping 4 characters, adding 3 new items to the game, which are substantial items, and just changing a lot of stuff in general. And this is actually the patch that the World's tournament is going to be played on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you know the big one that sells out, the Staples Center and stuff like that every year. This is the patch that tournament's going to be played on.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's dig into it. Let's see. First thing they're adding, explain what juggernauts are.
Yeah, it's the juggernaut, bitch!
Okay, so there are 4 characters in the game that have been around for quite some time, but they've gotten kind of stale over the years. There is, we'll go in the order of the biggest changes, or the smallest changes, the biggest changes. First, there's Darius, then we have Garen, Skarner, and Mordekaiser. So Darius, the thing he always did is his passive puts these stacks of blood on you. Every time he auto attacks you or does one of his moves, it puts a stack on you. Once he gets to 5 stacks, he can do this. Everyone calls it a slam dunk. That's why he has a basketball skin. And he slam dunks on you, and it does a massive amount of damage for each blood stack it has on you. And if he gets a kill with that, it resets his ultimate. So he is pretty devastating. He was probably the most fun out of the 4, or the most strong out of the 4 juggernauts.
Yeah, it's the juggernaut, bitch!
If you will. But the new thing is when he gets to 5 stacks of his passive on you, the 5 blood marks, which is the max number of stacks you can have, he goes into this frenzy that does a ton of damage. So that was the small change to him. Everything else is pretty much the same. Next we have Garen, who is probably one of my favorite champions, but he's one of the original, and he became very stale but still viable over the last few years. But they had this thing now. He had this ultimate. It's similar to Darius. Him and Darius are supposed to be mortal enemies. Garen's ultimate, just a giant sword falls from the sky, and it's supposed to basically execute someone based on the amount of health they're missing. So it's supposed to be a tank killer. There's this thing now where he kind of gets, he avenges his friends is the kind of deal about it. So because he's the ultimate good guy. So if an enemy opponent is killing your teammates, or whoever, I think it's whoever got the last kill, or whoever's killed the most people, you get a bounty for them. So next to your person's character, you see a little image of your bounty.
That's cool.
And if you see them, your ultimate does exponentially more damage to them.
Whoa.
So when you go into a team fight, he has a bounty, and he is supposed to take out that person, regardless of how tanky or not tanky they are. It's pretty cool. Skarner's changes are absolutely insane. Not as insane as Mordekaiser's, but Skarner's is pretty nuts. So basically, he's a scorpion that usually tends to jungle. They did this new thing where there's these neutral objectives on the map. There's Dragon, Baron, which are in the middle. There's the big objectives, and there's the 2 buffs that junglers get. They put these altars at each location, and Skarner can go capture the altars, or his teammates can. And if he captures them, as long as he's in that area, he gets a buff. So it basically gives him a benefit or a boost when fighting over neutral objectives. And the opponent team can actually capture those objectives, though. So it kind of turns the 5v5 map into, it like adds a mini game to it almost, if you have Skarner on your team.
I wonder if people are going to get into a Skarner match and be like, oh,
God, now we have to deal with the altars. It sounds kind of annoying, but
are there other
interesting
characters that have that?
No, nothing like that.
That's
crazy. Completely new.
I wonder if they're going to start doing that.
Yeah, I think this is them testing the water for that. And even bigger test for the water is Mordekaiser.
Mordekaiser, yeah.
I played a lot of matches last night, and my buddy Steve is in love with the new Mordekaiser. He played him every single game. Mordekaiser used to be this giant, he's like a giant guy in a suit of armor with a giant mace.
I have had it with these snakes on this plane.
And he was an ability-powered champion that stayed in the middle, so he was a mage. He was a mage killer. The new Mordekaiser is he's supposed to go on the bottom lane. If you play League of Legends, the bottom lane usually tends to be an AD carry and a support, which means an AD carry is the squishy people that shoot from a range and do a lot of damage, usually like people with guns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Mordekaiser is a big beefy guy that melees people, and his new position is in bottom lane.
Really?
Yeah. So he goes down there and he builds attack damage now. He doesn't build ability power anymore. So his spells don't do as much damage, as all of his spells are based off his attack damage. So they completely swapped his role, and he is a character that should have absolutely no place in the bottom lane, and now that is his position, which is just absolutely insane.
Did you get a chance to play as him?
I have not, but I was on a team with one for about 6 games last night, and it is solid. Oh, and his ultimate, what he used to do is you put a mark on someone, and if they die with that mark on them, you take a copy of their ghost and can control it, and they'll push towers and stuff for you. He can now possess Dragon, and if you kill Dragon while Mordekaiser has his mark on it, you get to control Dragon for a minute until it dies. It's insane. It's insane.
Okay, let's move on. There are 3 new items being added in this patch.
The items they're okay. Dead Man's Chest I used last night. It's a tank item. It gives you a little bit of armor, a little bit of health, and it has this thing where if you're running for a certain period of time, this flame builds up around you like you're building momentum. And when you get to someone and hit them, it kind of like uses that momentum to deal a little bit of extra damage. It's just another tank item that gives you a little bit of movement speed and gives a little flavor to the tank items. Yeah, because the tank items are kind of boring. And they just revamped all the ability power items with a bunch of exciting stuff, so it's about time.
Okay. There's Steric's Gauge.
Yeah, so I haven't tried this one, but it sounds awesome. Basically, it lets you Hulk out.
That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry.
So if you take a certain amount of damage in a short period of time, I think it ranges from 400 to 1800 damage in a 5-second period. Your character hulks out and gets 25% bigger and gets a 30% shield equal to the 30% of the health of the shield.
For 8 seconds,
Yeah, for 8 seconds. So it's kind of like to keep you from getting completely nuked in a team fight, which is pretty interesting. And then the last one is Titanic Hydra. I did try this one. So Ravenous Hydra is this melee only item in the game that when you auto attack stuff, it does an AoE explosion. It's pretty popular with all the melee champions, but Titanic Hydra is this new one. It's a tanky version of that weapon, and when you hit people, it like shoots a cone in front of you. So it still does AoE damage, but it's a tanky alternative.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though.
Okay, so along with these new item additions, a lot of defensive items are being nerfed. Why?
That's okay in my opinion, because the last few months of League of Legends, the last big patch was all about tanks. Every game had a really tanky person in the top lane, a really tanky person in the jungle, and they would just stack armor and magic resist and just sit there and have these long, boring team fights. And all of the tank champions were the strongest champions in the game because of this. So they're in an attempt to make the game more fast-paced and less drawn-out tank fights. They are slowly reducing the armor and the health provided by the tank items.
Okay.
And yeah, so the next thing to make up for that, they're actually buffing all of the people that will suffer from not having this tank stuff. So a lot of people that usually build tanky, like supports especially, they kind of buff their early game to help make up for not being able to stack so much armor at the end of the game.
Okay, so apart from, of course, there's going to be a ton of little tweaks here and there that they're releasing with the patch. Is there anything else you're kind of looking forward to?
The new skins are pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's 2 new ones. They're both arcade themed, which is really cool. Sona is the only person that had an arcade. Sona and Vigar had arcade skins, and Misfortune had arcade skins before this. They're all pretty cool. They're kind of like a Wreck-It Ralph, Tech. I don't know how to describe it. It's really cool. You should look them up. Riven got a new one, and Blitzcrank got a new one. Blitzcrank has a Nest cartridge on his back, and also looks a lot like Emperor Zurg from Toy Story is what he reminds me of.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah.
Or like the new Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. How do you... is there a different announcer coming out for this in this patch?
No. That was just for the pirate event. They had a pirate announcer for that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
That was the first time they've ever done that. So they're changing the formula a lot. They're really going out there, putting their necks out, trying new things. It's pretty cool in a game that's been out for so long.
So real quick, while we have just a couple minutes here, tell us, because it's a huge esport.
Yeah.
It's growing and growing and growing. How can we watch this tournament? How can we get into these types of things? Where should we start so that we don't watch this tournament and have no idea what's going on?
So the best thing you can do is start playing the game. So when you start the game, they have training mode, and you get a certain number of champions for free for the first few levels, and then the champions will cycle every week. So The best thing you can do is start playing the game, learn how the game works, the mechanics. The biggest learning curve this game has is the fact it has over, I think, 110 champions now. So when you're going into a game, you have to learn what 110 people do.
Yeah.
And they all have 5 moves and a passive, and some have even more than that.
Yeah.
So it's an exponential learning curve, and every month you're not playing, you just get one more champion to worry about. Well, it's about once a month, but
It's like skipping a Pokemon.
and then I mean you can watch. Yeah, it's like skipping Pokemon. You can watch the tournament itself on Twitch, but going into the tournament and not knowing what's going on, it's just gonna look like a bunch of people screaming over a video game. And you're not gonna know if someone does something cool.
Who's your favorite team?
I really like TSM. Team
Yeah?
Solomid, yeah. I don't think they're the best in the U.S. anymore because there's a new team that showed up this split, but I haven't been watching a lot lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let us know what you think about the new patches. You know, have you gotten your hands on it? And what are your favorite bits? And as always, thank you for liking and subscribing to our channel. Have a good day.
Bye.
Do
My favorite bits, my jiggly bits.